Hey guys, this is Mike from Craft Beer Storm, also founder of Ebert Brewing Company in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Today we are going to the Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk to Tom Cook. He's the founder of Von Ebert Brewing in Portland, Oregon. They have two locations actually in Portland, Oregon, making a lot of different types of beer. We had a good conversation, especially about the hops in the Pacific Northwest. Hops are awesome. Everybody loves IPAs. Hops are magic. So let's get to it. Hey, we're here today with Tom Cook. He's the founder of Von Ebert Brewing. Tom, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Doing fantastic.
Awesome. And your brewery is located in Portland, Oregon, and we got connected by Jillian, who we interviewed on another podcast. Actually, she set up a company that sells me keg labels. And then I looked at her signature, and I'm like, she's in Oregon, in Portland, Oregon. And then she runs a group for women who like beer, and they get together and they tour different breweries, and I think they've been to your brewery.
They have, yeah. We probably a couple months ago now, we did a nice behind-the-scenes tour for the group that was, very much behind the scenes, getting into the nitty-gritty of everything, which was a lot of fun.
Awesome. So, listen, what I usually start off guests with is like your story. How'd you get started? Where are you now? Where you're heading? Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. So we started. I started in the brew pub business, if you will, about a little over 4 years ago. And my group and I were the franchisees of Fatheads Brewery, which is out of Pittsburgh, although they brew out of Cleveland. And we decided to open one in Portland, so we did that. And then probably about a year ago now, we decided to kind of go our separate ways with Fatheads. Certainly no ill will with them, but they kind of wanted to focus on their production brewery. I wanted to kind of continue to focus on the brew pub side of the business on the West Coast. So we kind of went our separate ways, and through that rebranded into Von Ebert Brewing. And we've been kind of chugging along for the last we announced about a year ago, and then we de-imaged March of 2018. And then in July, we opened our second location in Portland as well, on Glendevere Golf Course, which is kind of unique. And then we actually just finally got the brewery installed, and we're actually in the middle of commissioning it right now. The restaurant side is open on the second location, but as I'm sure you know, the brewery takes a little longer.
Oh, yeah.
There's always delays.
The powers that be.
Yeah, exactly. So
if it's not the federal, the federal is the easiest. I found. You just send them a copy of the
feds were fine.
Now they're shut down.
So now it's really hard.
Currently, when we're doing this podcast, they shut the government down. So and that's one of the stories. Tom is going to help me with some craft beer news, but that's a different podcast. Yeah. So
that was kind of how we got started.
Yeah, all right. So now did you homebrew, or did you have any brewing experience, or how did that work out?
Yeah, I was a home brewer, not a very good home brewer. I'm trying to remember the book that I read. I read a bunch of them, but one of the books that I read said that if you can drink a pint of your first home brew, then you're on your way to, owning, being a world-class brewer, right?
Then you're a man.
So I brewed this pumpkin spiced ale, That
wow.
was horrible, just
My God.
horrible. Chunks of stuff inside of it and just terrible. And it was so under attenuated, it was just embarrassing. But I was so determined to drink a full pint of it that I just plugged my nose and chugged the whole beer.
All right.
So I guess that means I'm on my way to becoming a world-class brewer, right?
You got to do it. Yeah. I had my first brew was on a stove. It was like a kit with malt extract, and I couldn't get the damn thing to boil. And I was just cranking it up, and I opened all the doors of the house. It was like in the winter, and there was like smoke all over the place. But I finally got it to boil, and then that was my first beer on the stove. But then I'm like, this is not good. This is not good. So I got a banjo burner, and I did it outside after that. But that's interesting. Yeah. So the name Von Ebert, where did that come from?
So my great-grandmother, her last name is Ebert. We all, even though she's my great-grandmother, we all still call her Grandma Ebert. And she brought, was the kind of matriarch of the entire family and helped bring our family over from Germany. And if we kind of traced our family tree back many generations ago, and we used to be the von Eberts, which is kind of a German aristocratic term for, folks who have kind of this estate. And we found out that the family fell on hard times and had to sell the estate. And so we lost von in front of the name. And so when we decided to kind of name the brewery, we wanted something that was, really meant something to us, and something that kind of in the back of our mind reminded us that we need to do great things, just like our family did before us. And so we decided to bring back the von, which is, again, it's kind of an aristocratic term that roughly means the house of. So we wanted to name it the House of Ebert.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think that's great. And she's from Germany, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the Germans know what they're doing. I keep saying that about beer. I went to Oktoberfest once, and it's fantastic. I love German beer. It's fantastic. Do you find yourself doing some German styles, or maybe gravitating towards that type of beer?
I would say we do kind of a wide variety.
You do. I saw your website. You have like lagers, wheat ales, IPAs, porters, and then you say you do like 100 different styles per year.
Yeah, we do 100 different kinds of beer.
Wow.
And when I say that, it's we kind of separate all of the different types of IPA, meaning fruit IPA, brewed IPA, West Coast IPA, New England IPA, AZ IPA, Belgian IPA, all black IPA. To me, they're kind of all different. They're very clearly different beers to me.
Right.
And so, yeah, we do about 100 different beers. And it's, that was with the one brew house. And now that we've got the second one up and running, we'll kind of add to that. So we do quite a few different beers. I would say probably 30% of our production is kind of what I would call flagships, and then 70% of it is all kind of experimental, different beers, unique beers, which I think is kind of inversed from what most breweries are doing, which is kind of 70% flagship and 30% what I'll call seasonal.
I think it's cool, and it keeps things interesting. People come in and they can try. 100 different styles is pretty awesome, and that's what I kind of preach too. I do one podcast a week on Wednesdays where I go over a different beer style. I just take the GABF guidelines and I just go down the list, because a lot of people don't know that there's so many different beer styles. They just think there's a lager and there's like an IPA and that's it. That's beer. But I'm like, no, there's just like loads of other stuff, like, loads of other beer styles that are out there, and you guys are going for it. So that's pretty cool. Now you have, you have your, so you have 2 locations now, and do you distribute?
We do. Yeah, we distribute in the state of Oregon and state of Washington, California, and also to Japan.
Japan, that's interesting. How'd you get into that?
We had every so often, we get some kind of cold calls or cold emails, if you will, from some importers. Portland has a pretty nice port. Seattle has a pretty nice port. Right. Getting our beer to the port is very, very simple, very easy, very quick, very safe for the beer. And so we got connected with this importer, and he kind of made me feel much more easy about the transportation and how quickly we get beer over to Japan. The fact that it's a refrigerated container all the way over, really made me feel much more confident that right. Even in Tokyo, they were going to get the product that we had intended, which has always been kind of my concern with import-export is, are they able to drink the beer that we intended them to drink, right? Or are we sacrificing quality for some sales?
I mean, that's the issue. Yeah, so, I mean the key enemies of beer are light, heat, and oxygen, and especially you put them on these barges or whatever that go across the ocean. I mean, how many thousands of miles is it? I don't even know, like 2,000 miles across to Japan.
Yeah.
If it's on it for weeks and it's hot, I mean, it's going to destroy the beer. But if you have a refrigerated environment, actually, I just interviewed a couple weeks ago John Kimmick. He's of Alchemist in Vermont, and he's like, our stores, whoever has our beer, it has to be refrigerated. It can't be on a shelf. Right, and he's right, because it destroys the quality of the beer, and it doesn't give the end user the experience that you've intended. So, yeah, it's great. So Japan has gone really well. The beer is disappearing, which is fantastic. And That's cool.
We're not selling a ton of it, but it grows every month, and they're. I think they treat the beer extremely well on the way over, which makes me feel a lot better. So it's been really good. That's cool.
And then what are the size of your systems in your? You have 2 locations. What are the size of the systems there?
So the original location is a 3-vessel, 10-barrel brew house.
Okay.
Everything is steam, and then we've got about 230 total barrels of fermentation space. We've got kind of a mixture of 2 30-barrel tanks, some 20-barrel tanks, and some 10-barrel tanks. And then at the new location, it's a we kind of call it a 3.5 vessel, 7-barrel brew house, and the half of the vessel is we have a what we call a utility tank that is steam jacketed, that allows us to do decoction brewing as well as turbid mashing. The focus of the other brewery is a lot more mixed culture fermentation, and so the ability to have a vessel that we can do some turbid mashing is great. So it's a 3.5 vessel, 7-barrel, and then we've got 6 15-barrel fermenters, 2 15-barrel brite tanks, and 1 30-barrel brite tank. And then we've got quite a bit of oak for the size of the brew house. We've got 4 30-barrel foeders and about 2,000-liter French oak fruiting tanks, and about 16 500-liter wine puncheons that all have.
You're serious with the oak,
mixed
man.
Culture inside of them. Yeah,
you're serious oak. I went to New Belgium. I was at the GABF last year, and they have these huge, like oak. Yeah.
That's a forest. Yeah, that's a total forest. That's a whole nother level.
Yeah, but that's great what you're doing in oak. I mean, we do stuff here in oak, and I have a small brewery. I have like a 7-barrel brewery, and like we'll get some barrels from Allagash, and we'll age them. We'll age the beer for like 3 months, but people love it. I mean, anything in these oak barrels, they're fantastic.
Yeah, totally.
It's awesome. Is that kind of the stuff you send to Japan too, or distribute the oak stuff, or do you keep it for your tap room?
For now, we keep it for the tap room.
Right.
We're trying to get, once the new brewery is fully up and running and we're filling oak, we'll be able to distribute it quite a bit more. But for right now, it's fairly limited, and we try to keep, try to take care of the pubs first. So it's more limited than it will be here in the future.
Yeah, well, the margin is best in your tap room. I mean, if you can sell that stuff there, it's fantastic.
Yeah,
why send it to Japan when you can sell it there?
Yeah.
But that's cool. Yeah. So, do you add any local ingredients for your beer, or what's the local scene like in terms of farm to table and?
Yeah. What's kind of nice about this area is, local is, I think, a little bit easier for us than it is on the East Coast, because somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 to 85% of all the hops grown in the U.S. are grown within 4 hours drive of the brewery, whether it's in the Yakima Valley or in the Willamette Valley in Oregon. The hop farms are massive, and we will, our fresh hop beers are literally us driving to the hop farm, loading hops right off of the conveyor belt into a bag, driving back to the brewery, and then brewing it in the evening typically. So we have a little bit of an advantage with being so close to all these hop farms.
Wow. That's fresh.
And then we do use, especially at the new brewery, we will use quite a bit of Mecca grade malt, which is from the Northwest, as well as Bob's Red Mill, which is, again, headquartered in Oregon. And we also, I think one of the other things that kind of makes this unique that we're working on, and it will be, the final product will come out with the new brewery, is a lot of the brewers love to go hiking and things like that. And so we'll grab berries, we'll grab, pine needles, we'll grab, whatever we can, and then try to grow yeast off of those berries and pine needles and everything else from all over Oregon. And so, one of the things that we want to try to do is have this truly Oregon beer where even the yeast is naturally occurring from Oregon, that we've just grown up. And, Mecca grade malt and Bob's Red Mill and hops that were grown in Oregon, and all this, try to do a truly Oregon beer that we can be truly proud of.
Wow. Yeah, I know you were in Oregon. We get some hops from Willamette Valley Farms. They're out in, Willamette Valley.
Yeah.
But we get, they pelletize them and they send them to us. Do you use the whole cones, or do they pelletize them, or how does that work?
We've done both.
Okay.
On the mixed culture side, typically it's whole leaf hops that we've aged. And then on the kind of what I'm going to call clean beer side, IPA side, we favor on the pellet side of things.
Right.
We've done quite a few beers with our hop back with whole leaf. But I'm a proponent of pellets. I think there's just so many things you can do, and not that there's anything wrong with leaf hops, as Sierra Nevada would I would believe them before you believe me. But I think I like the flexibility of pellet. But we've used both, and then obviously the fresh hops are all full cone. truly
Wow.
green, fresh hops.
Man, that must be delicious, fresh. Wow. But yeah, hops are making the world go around these days with IPAs. Everybody loves IPAs.
Yeah, I mean it's good, and when you go and when you visit Yakima, where in Washington, where 75% of all the hops grown, or I think it's 70% now, but where quite a few of the hops grown in the United States are grown in this fairly small region of Washington. I think it's fun to see because the amount of, as hop prices are up and up, the farmers are doing a really great job of reinvesting into their farms, reinvesting into research and development for new hops. I would say that the pace of new hops coming out and the pace of research and development, I would argue, has never been faster, and the level of investment has never been higher with these hop farmers trying to find the next great hop, the next great Simcoe, the next great Citra, Mosaic, Amarillo. They're pouring literally millions into trying to find these new hops. It's really that whole process is so cool. So,
but unique. If they hit it, if they have an awesome hop, I mean that's like gold.
It really is. I mean, they can license who gets to plant that hop, and they get a license fee from every pound of
Yakima,
that hop that gets.
Yakima has their own. They have they patented a couple of hops.
Yeah, there's a group called the Select Botanicals Group that I believe is led by Jason Peralt from Peralt Farms, and he leads one of the largest, if not the largest, kind of hop research and development groups and hop breeding programs. But Simcoe is one of his, I believe. Mosaic is one of his.
Wow.
He's done extremely well on the hop breeding program.
I got to get him on the podcast. Do you have connections with him? Do you know him?
Yeah, I think I do have his email somewhere.
All right, you got to connect us.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be awesome to get him on. I mean,
really,
hops
really
are.
Nice guy.
Hops are it, these days with beer. People love IPAs, and it's just not dying down. It's just getting stronger, if anything. People want more and more IPAs, and I love IPAs too. I mean, I love them.
Yep.
And what are some of the good? Well, you're out there. What are some of the good up and coming hops that I should be? Maybe I can get my hands on. I know Willamette Valley. She throws stuff my way. When she get Brew 1, she had BRU1, she sent my way. And if there's some other stuff, I want to ask her. What are some good hops that are coming out?
I mean, I think some of the favorites right now that are really hard to get your hands on. I think Galaxy.
Well, Galaxy.
Some of these are southern. Some of these are southern hemisphere hops that we don't grow in North America. But
right.
Galaxy, Nelson. Both are pretty hard to get your hands on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I think we use a tremendous amount of Simcoe Citra Mosaic. I think we're getting more into some of the other kind of Australian and New Zealand hops with whether
good.
It's Vic Secret or
Ella.
Ella, would love to get our hands on some Enigma. That's another hop that's tough to get your hands on right now.
These are really good hops, guys. It's hard to get. I know Willamette Valley. I mean, I hook them up. We make an Oreo infused Java porter, and I sent some out there to the lady who Mo out in Willamette Valley. She's like, dude, just keep sending me that. And I'll hook you up with Galaxy. I'm like, all right, deal.
That's a good deal, by the way. That's a good deal.
Yeah, they've been very good to me. I mean, she's gotten me, and I don't use like a load of Galaxy, but actually I'm drinking some beer now. It's called Outer Limits. It's with Galaxy hops, and that's just one hop, right? But the flavor that comes out of it is just tremendous. Mm-hmm. Tremendous. I love it, where you would have to blend like maybe 5 other types of hops. This is just fantastic. So like when you hit it and when you have a good hop, it's like gold, like I said.
I think you're spot on. I think complexity is is so important and so elusive to these hops around creating and there are, the challenge is creating something that you're right, where you can, if you do blend it, it's blended with one, maybe two other hops that creates this awesome array of flavor. And I think the other thing that's challenging to get out of the hops is this idea of truly tropical flavor,
right,
which is different than citrus, different than herbal, different than earth, different than, this idea of truly tropical,
right,
is that flavor is difficult to get, but highly sought after by the consumer.
Right. It is. Yeah. Galaxy hits it on the head.
Yes. Galaxy is a perfect example. Yep.
But awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, the Portland, Oregon scene, it's there's a lot of breweries there. You see it growing or tapering off, or what do you see in the Portland, Oregon scene? Because it's a big scene out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of breweries here in Portland. I think, we are seeing there has been a few brewery closures. I think it's a tough market. It's a tough market to survive in. But I also think it's, you've got to be up for the challenge.
Right.
And you've got to, I think it pushes a lot of the brewers harder and farther, because you've got to be, your product has to be better than everybody else's in town. I mean, quite frankly, Portland is not that big of a city. I think sometimes people think that Portland is a much bigger city than it really is.
Right.
It's really not that big of a town. And there's 75, 80 something breweries in truly the city of Portland, and quite a few in the suburbs as well. And, I think it keeps everybody on their toes, but there is, I don't think we're at the saturation level, because I do think that there are some of the farther out suburbs, and I think there are some of the, quite frankly, there are pockets of Portland that have nice population density, but for one reason or another just have not gotten enough kind of what I'm going to call neighborhood breweries. I think the one thing that is important is in Portland, there's so many neighborhood breweries. It's not that they're 25, 30,000 barrel breweries. It's that they serve their local neighborhood, their local community, and they're happy about that. And
right.
And the margins on, as you suggested earlier, the margins on beer when it's served at your place are good enough where you can make a living.
Yeah.
Being a neighborhood brewery. And so when everybody says, "Oh my gosh, there's so many breweries," well, there's not that many 25,000 barrel breweries in Portland, let alone in the state of Oregon. And it's because there's these 3, 5, 7, 10 barrel brew houses that are just kind of serving their local neighborhood. And just like you would have a bar, we have a brewery. And I think in general in the world, or in the United States, I should say better, there's this idea that we're getting oversaturated. I don't subscribe to that mindset. If every city had the same number of breweries per capita as Portland, it's something like 20,000 breweries in the United States or more. And somebody who's going to fact check me on that, and I appreciate that. But we have room for a tremendous number of breweries. And, prior to Prohibition, we had something like 5,000 breweries in the United States with a quarter of the population. We just passed, 7,000 breweries, but from a per capita perspective, we're not even there yet.
Right.
Not even back to pre-Prohibition levels.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, you mentioned the local, and I think everything and everybody I'm talking to is seeing this trend toward the local brewery, which is the way it was like pre-Prohibition. That's why there were so many. But like you said, the population is like a quarter of what it was. Yep. So, a lot of people say bubble. I mean, I don't know. There is room for growth. I mean, when these breweries start up and there's just like guys with like money, they don't know anything about beer. Maybe they didn't even like beer, but they'll like just throw money at it and open this massive brewery, and they don't really know what they're doing, and then they end up closing. I mean, that's not good. But I mean, smaller guys who have a passion for it, and have a community. I mean, I think that's a fantastic model, and they can make a living doing what they love. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think you're spot on. I think there does seem to be this kind of dichotomy right now where there's two types of folks opening breweries. There seems to be people that don't have very much money, but a tremendous amount of knowledge and passion. And there seems to be people that have lots of money and not as much passion and knowledge. And for one reason or another, for some reason, those two just haven't gotten together enough
I know.
to create some great breweries. But I think as we move forward, that will change, and I think that will become more of a symbiotic relationship where folks that do have knowledge and passion will find a way to get connected with folks that have money and capital, so that they don't have to do things on a shoestring budget, which I'm of the opinion kind of costs more in the long run by having to piece everything together and redo it and piece it together again and redo it. And
no, you're right. So I'm one of the undercapitalized guys. It was just kind of me, and an idea, and I'm like, I can do this, and I did. We're in year 4, and we're still alive. And unfortunately, there's some breweries around us that have closed, and these guys are great guys, and I feel really bad for them. But I am still here, and but it's great. It just kind of tough. You gotta have a tough skin, and it's not a straight line like upwards. It's a freaking roller coaster, man. And you've known it too. I mean, you've opened 2. You must have went through like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it is a roller coaster, and I do think that you that thick skin. I always like going to kind of the brewery conventions, whether it's the Craft Brewers Conference or GABF or whatever else, because you get to talk with like-minded people, but more importantly, you get to talk with folks who have developed that thick skin of whether it's dealing with the TTB, dealing with your municipality about trying to license your brewery and permit your brewery. We went through all kinds of zoning issues and equipment issues, and all the while you're just shoveling out money, trying to get this thing up and running. So it is you do have to. If you think your brewery is going to cost $1 million, you better borrow $2.5 million.
That's what it is, right? That's what I tell people. Like, what's your budget? Yeah. Like, it's $100,000. Well, expect to spend at least $200. Like, double it, because that's reality. Yeah. You're like, no, it's not going to be that way, and then it ends up being that way. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. If it's not one entity, it's another entity, or is a problem, or it's a mess. Yeah, but. Yep. But you got to get the good. But smaller is good, because then you can pivot. If things change. Yeah. When you go big, just out of the gate. If things change, you're screwed. So, it is interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to get into the craft beer conference. I applied for a media pass, so hopefully they give it to me, because I am media. Nice. I'm a podcast, right? You're total media. I am total media. And I think I'm becoming the media. Like news and TV are going out of style. I mean, people didn't have laptops or phones, right? If you want any information, you just look down at your phone. And there it is. Or you listen to a podcast in your car. And there you go. Totally. So, I mean, what are some of the other challenges? I mean, when you talk to other brewers, like, what are challenges that they're going through? In terms of,
I think, I think there's a lot of there are a lot of challenges. I think, one of them is real estate. Portland is becoming more and more of a kind of hobby. Rent is through the roof comparatively for other cities of our size. Mm-hmm. Rent is extremely expensive here. For some reasons, people compare us to Seattle and San Francisco. They're both 10 times our size. And so for us to even be in a conversation with their rents is pretty absurd. So, I think there's a lot of real estate pressure. You want to have prime real estate for your tap house, but paying for prime real estate is extremely expensive. So I think there's some challenges there. There's been some news recently about some equipment manufacturers going out, which I think is a challenge. If you had your deposit with
DME
and
there was one near you, I think. There was there.
Yeah, JV Northwest got purchased, which is good news for them. That's actually who builds all of our brewery equipment.
Right.
So, a lot of shakeup in the from that side of things. And then I think the other thing is ingredient procurement. Hops are, everybody wants Nelson, everybody wants Galaxy, and it's very difficult. And there's been a lot of brewers that have been burned from hop contracting in the past to where they've over contracted, and now they're over obligated to purchase these hops that, quite frankly, they're not going to use, and so they're trying to unload these contracts, which has flooded the market with certain types of hops, and yet the demand for other types of hops is to the point where it doesn't matter who you can't get the hops. So I think all of those are kind of, just some of the challenges that I kind of see in Portland amongst all the brewers here.
Mm-hmm. Are there any specific, is it all still IPAs or craft beer trends? Do you see any darker things coming on, or sours, or what do you see in your town there?
Yeah, I think I'm seeing more kind of craft lager, what I'm going to call.
Okay.
For the first time, our Pilsner is selling kind of alongside the same volume as our IPA, which is fantastic to see.
That's great.
The haze craze is still, widely evident here. We make two of them. We have a tough time keeping them on tap. They sell so well, which is good news.
That's cool.
They're also very expensive to make, so happy to see Pilsner, which is not expensive to make, creeping up the leaderboard.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I think sour still has its place, although I don't see the growth in sour as much as I did probably 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, it was crazy a couple years ago.
So it seems like everybody kind of is having, has probably one type of kettle sour, and then some of us have some mixed culture, sours or mixed culture beer in the lineup. I would say IPA is still reigns king. I'm coming to terms with the fact that, as we talked about earlier, there's so many different types of IPA, and I'm kind of getting off of my soapbox of saying, well, an IPA is an IPA. There's I could rattle off probably 20 different types of IPA, and some sell much better than others. Fruited IPA sells extremely well. Hazy IPA sells extremely well. English IPA, not so much. Doesn't sell as well.
That's
right?
a bit bitter. Yeah. People looking for the aroma and yeah.
Yeah. And going back to kind of that tropical flavor that drinkers are looking for. And I think it's part of the reason why fruit is selling so well right now, is that people are kind of looking for this tropical flavor. Whether you get it from hops or fruit or yeast or however you get it, people are looking for it.
The tropical, yeah. All right. Hey, yeah, it was great. I'm glad I got you on. It seems like your brewery's doing fantastic. You got 2 of them now, and you're in Japan. It's like a lot of stuff. You're distributing in different states, so you're doing very well, which is great.
Thank you.
Is there anything you can leave our listeners with, like in terms of a local beer? Why they should try to trend towards maybe local beer instead of this mass-produced beer?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the biggest selling point for local beer is, quite frankly, the variety. And I think we talked a little bit about trends. I think kind of the quote new and hot trend is very fashionable, and I think that there is your neighborhood brewery in general will have, over the course of a year, will pour more different beers than your grocery store will sell. And I think, people are amazed when I say about 100 different styles. We didn't really try to make 100 different styles, different beers. We just made it, every week we decided to make a different beer and a couple of different beers. And before we knew it, we do 2 different beers a week. That's 100 different beers. So, it was a little bit of a mistake. And I think there's a lot of brew pubs that have a similar mindset where they're just trying cool, unique things. And so I think if you want to drink the same old stuff, go get whatever you want at the grocery, from the, 400,000 barrel breweries and the 32 million barrel breweries.
Yeah.
If you want to try something that's cool, unique, different, something that you may never get to taste ever again for the rest of your life,
yeah,
go and have a beer at your local neighborhood brewery.
That's cool. That's the truth. That's the truth. All right, Tom. Well, I appreciate you being on. I appreciate what you're doing. If people want to get a hold of you, or how can they do that in terms of your brewery website?
Yeah. So my website there's a little form you can fill out. My email is also there on the website, but it's TS as in Sam Cook at VonEbertBrewing.com. And, anybody who has any questions, comments, concerns, short songs or skits, jokes that they'd like to share, I'm happy to oblige. And if I don't know the answer, I know my brewers will know the answer, but happy to help or answer any questions that I can.
That's great. All right, Tom. Well, I appreciate you being on, and I want to try to make it out there at some point, and I'm sure I will at some point. I'm not sure when, but I got to get up into that part of the United States there with the hops, and got to go visit Willamette Valley and stop in Portland, and there's a lot of good stuff going on over there.
Please do, and when you do, please let me know so we can make sure you're treated right.
Awesome, Tom. All right. Hey, well, I appreciate your being on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks.
All right, take care. Yep, that was Tom Cook. He was the founder of Von Ebert Brewing, and he's in Portland, Oregon. A lot of good stuff, a lot of interesting knowledge that Tom has. He's had quite a journey. He's making great beer. And, it's good stuff. He's in the epicenter of the hop region, Willamette Valley and Yakima Valley, and it's all good stuff up there, good hops. But if you like this podcast and you like what we're doing, I would ask you please to go on to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. That only helps us, get up the rankings of iTunes. That way we can get out to more and more people. We're recently ranked like number 12 in the food category in iTunes, out of control in the food category. is fantastic. But we appreciate your reviews and your support. There is an alternative to that mass-produced watered-down beer, guys, and it's a good local craft beer. So get out to your local brewery, support them, try their beers. It's awesome. Have a flight. Try a little bit of everything on tap. You might find your next favorite beer. If you go into stores, you don't see them on the shelves, grab the manager and say, what's going on? Why don't you have this crap beer on your shelf? Same thing in restaurants. Look at the tap lines. If there's just, big beers on, no local craft beers, grab that manager again and say, hey, what's going on? Get your local craft brewery on. Okay, guys, that's all I have for today. And thank you for everything. And thank you for tuning in and subscribing. And I love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.